right. We good for another two?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
5, 6.
All right. I'm gonna leave some time for question and answer. We can go back and forth, and that might spark a poem in itself. All right. Oh. All right. This is an interesting one. So, you know, I work with students. I work at Evergreen Valley College, and, you know, we're going through a lot. But I love being in the education arena because growth is always happening, right? It's not stagnant. And, you know, this time is you know, yeah, a lot of changes. But what I try to remind them that this is nothing new. You know, in the 80s, we dealt with Reaganomics and things like that. And in the African-American community, we dealt with crack cocaine coming into our cities. You know, and we weren't bringing them over. We had nothing to do with that whole Contra scandal and all that other good stuff, you know. So this is a poem that, this is the young me before we moved to Altadena when we lived in Los Angeles. In an ode to a time. Back before cats had ill vernacular, before airbags for your front seat passengers, Lex Coupes and Acuras. You see, hip hop seemed happier. We wrote line for line, crafting fresh design, free to be the lyrical czars that we are. Before A&Rs started to craft Pinocchios like Geppetto. You see, we opened our minds to redefine the term ghetto. Plus, it was a must that we bust any mic that was handed to us. And released pent-up disgust on stage, we cold crushed psychological lessons. Through displaced aggression, we manifest destined so much. From jams in a park to blend tapes, we dug into crates and added an 808 as solutions were found in the revolution of the plates. Spinning wax as Kool Herc put in work to break beats and build tracks. And in a short span of time and space, at the tender age of 8, it was the Sugar Hill Gang that brought it to my face. Supplying the theme music as I ran a rat race. A little ghetto boy just trying to escape. Because you see, I was the age of a gangbang rookie. You see, the mean streets, they shook me. As the sounds of drug wars used to put me to sleep. Then I heard the bang bang boogie. Said up jumped the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie to beat. Now that's deep. All right. I like that rhythm. Put that one in the pocket. Okay. You see, I praise the Creator. So to quench my thirst, I pop open a freestyle, a poetic free verse. Spit an ill 16 and disperse a verse as my subconscious goes to work and I flirt with the analytical, flashback subliminal, tap into my chi, this MC is spiritual. To seek, search, and find through stillness of the mind that but more rewind as I travel back in time to Kangos and fat laces, my man David and his braces. Quantum type leaps go deep to creative spaces. As you see, I found the fountain of youth where cats stay young. All I need is a break beat and an ill kick drum. Yes. As you see, I got gods, earths, and little seeds. Homies, cronies, and a few enemies. Mommies, poppies, and aunties all watching me, mostly, closely, to the words that I read. So I'm like, yo, if all I have to do is rhyme to touch mine, then I'm gonna go line for line until I shine. To show enough, you have to know that I'm a flow until I glow. Like the last Asiatical bro, a young Bruce Leroy, you know? So, be it DSL or fiber optics, I rock it, lock it, exceed Mach 3 with closed optics, and bling on mental screens like hypertext, while giving birth to thought like cyber sex. Because as an MC who breathes words of poetry, I allow the inner me to defeat the enemy. I said, as an MC who brings words of poetry, I allow the inner me to defeat the enemy. Thank you. Wow. Talk to me. Any comments, questions, concerns? We just poets in the room. Yes, sir.
There you go. Do you listen to music when you write, and if so, what do you listen to?
Yes, I do. If it's not a track, because we're working on an album, so be on the lookout for that. I'm listening to smooth jazz. I like smooth jazz. I like smooth jazz. Yes. Earl Klugh, you know, George Benson, Al Jarreau, yeah. If I have writer's block, I listen to Prince. You know. That's if I need a, that's if I'm working on a love song. Yes, yes. Yeah. Thank you for your question.
So you talked a little bit about, it seemed to allude a little bit to current day hip hop versus like old school, which kind of what got me into writing was growing up with like Melly Mel and Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five and Shango and those kinds of influences as a kid, really. And I started to think about the rhythm of words, you know,
Right.
And so you mentioned Benita Applebaum, You've Got to Be Putting Me On, and you know, and so anyways, we just had our first ever rapper in the halftime of the Super Bowl.
Right.
And I played a portion for my students in that. I was just kind of wondering if you would contrast a little bit what you think about the poetry of today, right now.
Right.
Maybe, I don't know, you ain't got to go into diss poetry, but if you want to, I'd like to hear. But what do you contrast between that stuff of like, I'm a not quite 10 years older than you, but you know.
Right, I did the math earlier.
About that. And so, like, what do you think about like when we were kids to now? Like, that's a bit of the conversation, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and I will let two gray-haired men talk about when we were kids. Yes, indeed. I feel like when we were kids, growing up, it was an escape. You know, it was an escape. And I like to let young people know, like, you get to write anything you want. And I feel like in the 90s, we started to, you know, take it into a certain space, but there was two factions, you know. You had more of the gangster, and then you also had the lyricism, right? And a lyricist, you know, we get to create and draw pictures, you know. If I can make you see what I'm saying, then I'm doing my job. And then let's fast forward, and I know I'm speeding this, but fast forward to the Super Bowl and people like Kendrick Lamar. One thing I was waiting for, like, not only does the artist need to change, you know, step their game up, you know, that's how I feel about hip hop. It was getting to a point where, come on, we can do better. And then Kendrick is starting to allow the audience to be the listeners we were. Because in the summertime, you may have had 3 or 4 albums, right? And we're digesting this. And then with this new age, so many people are out there, and let's not get confused. I mean, like, Alvin Toffler's, you know, future shock is real, right? We are overconsumed, you know, information overload is real. But we used to listen to and dissect things. So he's ushering that in again. And that's what's making me happy. It's like, yes, young people are now listening again. You know, and I did the last 2 shows I've done, I had young people like, oh, you like lyrics. And so that's what I feel has changed. And I'm hoping us to get back to, and as poets, we've been walking this line of lyricism since day one. So now we can start to look towards a younger audience that are starting to listen to us and go, oh, it's not just no guy, he has something to say, you know, because that's what it did for me. You know, Chester Himes was a literary god for me, you know, and I remember picking up his book in the Beverly Hills Library of all libraries and seeing like black on black crime. Like, what does he know? He's from the 40s, you know, like life was in black and white then. And then seeing stuff like, wow. So we get to do that now. And I think that people like Kendrick Lamar is ushering in young people who are listening. You know, they're always going to find, oh, did you know he meant that? And look at the double entendre there. You know, so I think that's what we're looking towards. I know you didn't ask me about hope, but I'm a hopeful person, and that's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good.
Anyone else? Jamie? How you doing? Jamie. Just ask. I always like your work with your double entendres and stuff. Yes.
How frequently does the song come first and then it inspires something onto the page?
How frequently does a song come first? That's interesting because sometimes I come up with a rhythm and I might shoot it towards Sean. Like nowadays, you know, like back in the day, I thought I needed a DJ, but ain't nothing like having a drummer by your side, you know. And a little bit of both. I kind of think rhythmically, you know, and so it's like, oh, okay, that kind of pocket. Maybe the pocket comes, you know, the pocket is there, but the nuance of the music, you know, we figure it out. We figure it out. Yeah. Well, if that is it, I'm gonna go into another piece if that doesn't. Oh, he has a question. No, say it. Ask your question.
What about sounds on the street? You know, like for
yes,
like in dance, like in dance.
No.
I see somebody put out a cigarette like this, and I'm like, I'm taking that for my dance move.
Right. No, inspiration everywhere. Sounds on the street. It reminds me. I'm gonna go back to Beach Street, right? And Kenny, you know, it was about this DJ, and he would, you know, record these different things. Like I've been recording conversations and different things, drips of water, and you know, yes, it's inspiration, rhythm is everywhere. You know, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Life is an inspiration. Life is an inspiration. All right, Sean, let's go into something before we get out of here.
Go for it.
You got those new sticks. I'm gonna follow your lead. I'm gonna follow your lead.
Full on?
Full on.
Are you walking still?
I'm wherever. Try not to make me run right now. As the pen rides and glides, thought slides onto paper, taking me back to Bismarck in the vapors, with some pulled capers in the name of stacking papers. Well, I pack more flavor than packs and alpalators, walking up the block, Walkman, no boom box, as the beat knocked with styles of Pete Rock, freestyling off the top. Neighbors stared and watched. I'm like, let them hawk, let them gawk. Let them talk as I walk. Home in the zone of my own hip hop. What else could I say? Still to this day, yo, I'm nice with the mic, device, and word play. Cause you see, before the open mics, lattes and cafes, I used to run with the MCs. But now I walk the street. I said before the open mics, lattes and cafes, I used to run with DMCs, but now I walk this way. Thank you.